My name is Tommy Pickles, and life has been a constant struggle. Sacrifices define me. I've been sacrificing for as long as I can remember. Every step of the way, it's felt like I've been giving more than I've had, pouring myself into helping others, even when I barely had the strength to help myself. There have been ups and downs, moments when I thought I'd finally catch a break, only to be dragged back into the cycle. People lean on me, depend on me, and when they're done, they move on. And me? I'm left with the weight of their problems, my sacrifices unnoticed, unappreciated. I realized something about myself, though. When I'm angry, truly angry, it's like a fire ignites in me. It's strange because that anger gives me strength. It's the only time I feel powerful, like I can take control of the chaos around me. Sometimes it feels like I can manifest something darker, something I'd call evil. But here's the thing, it works. When I let that energy loose, my enemies back off. The people who push me, test me, and take advantage of me, they leave me be. It feels good, almost too good, like a release of everything I've been holding inside. And for once, I don't feel weak. It scares me sometimes how much I enjoy it. But maybe that's just who I am. After all, how else do you survive a life full of sacrifice? I didn't choose this path, you know? I never asked to be the one who always gives, who always bends until I'm ready to break. But that's just how things turn out. Maybe it's because people saw something in me, a strength, a resilience. But what they don't realize is that their needs, their burdens come at a cost. Every time I give, a part of me is chipped away, piece by piece, sacrifice by sacrifice. And when there's nothing left, when I'm worn down to my last nerve, all I'm left with is that anger. That deep, seething rage that's been brewing inside me for years. It's not something I'm proud of, but I won't lie. It feels good to let it out, to channel it. When I do, I'm unstoppable. The people who underestimated me, who used me, who thought I was weak, they see the other side of me. The part of me that's tired of being everyone's doormat. And once they see that, they back off. But then there's the aftermath, the quiet after the storm. That's when I wonder, what am I becoming? Is this who I really want to be? Someone who thrives on the power of anger and darkness? Someone who feels strong only when they're pushing others away? I tell myself it's just survival, that this is what life has turned me into. A fighter, someone who can't afford to be soft anymore. Because the world doesn't reward kindness, does it? It chews up people like me and spits them out. Still, there's a small part of me that misses the version of myself before the anger, before the sacrifices harden me. I wonder if I'll ever get back to that person, or if I've crossed a line I can't uncross. For now, all I know is that I'm tired of losing. And if anger is what keeps me standing, then maybe it's not such a bad thing after all. It's strange, but I've noticed something about the way people treat me and what happens afterward. People like to test me, try to get under my skin. They come at me with rudeness, disrespect, or that quiet, sneaky kind of malice that they think I don't notice. But I see it all. And when I do, something inside me stirs like a spark that catches fire. I don't say much when it happens. I don't need to. Instead, I just fix them with a stare, a look that feels like it's coming from somewhere deeper than me. It's not just anger. It's something sharper, more focused, like a force I can't fully explain. And then almost without fail, things start happening. Maybe not right away, but eventually. Those people who try to be rude to me, who came at me with their bad intentions, they end up suffering in ways I never expected. Some of them fall ill, others face tragedies in their lives, and some just disappear entirely. I don't know if it's me or something else working through me. All I know is that it happens too often to be a coincidence. It's like the universe, or something beyond it, is answering on my behalf, punishing them for crossing me. I've tried to brush it off, to tell myself it's just bad luck or karma catching up with them. But deep down, I know better. There's something about the way I feel in those moments, the way my stare seems to hold power. It's like I'm channeling something that doesn't forgive easily. It doesn't feel wrong, though. If anything, it feels like justice. These are people who thought they could push me, disrespect me, or treat me like I'm less than I am. And now they think twice. Now they keep their distance. Still, I wonder if there's a price to this power, if every glance carries a weight I don't fully understand. But if it keeps the wolves at bay, maybe it's worth it. Because in a life full of sacrifices, I've learned one thing. I refuse to be anyone's victim. The first time I noticed it happen, I thought it was just coincidence. A guy at work had been mouthing off to me for weeks, calling me names under his breath, trying to humiliate me in front of others. I'd had enough. I didn't yell or fight back. I just turned and looked at him. A deep, unblinking stare that seemed to silence the whole room. He laughed it off at first, but a few days later, I heard he'd been in an accident. Nothing fatal, but bad enough to keep him out of work for a while. People said he'd been careless, that it was his fault, but I couldn't shake the feeling that somehow my gaze had set something in motion. Since then, it's happened again and again. Someone tries to mess with me, to pull me down, and I react the same way, silent, unyielding, staring straight into their soul. And the results are always the same. Sickness, misfortune, sometimes worse. I don't talk about it much because, honestly, who would believe me? It sounds ridiculous, even to me, but the pattern is undeniable. It's not like I'm asking for it to happen. I don't wish harm on anyone. But when I feel that surge of energy inside me, when I lock eyes with someone who's wronged me, it's like the universe responds without me saying a word. Part of me feels guilty, like maybe I should try to stop it, to control whatever this is. But another part of me wonders, why should I? People need to learn that actions have consequences. If they're going to try to tear me down, they'd better be ready to deal with what comes next. There's power in it, I won't lie. A quiet, unshakable power that makes me feel like I'm finally in control. And in a world where I've spent so much time giving, sacrificing, and being stepped on, it feels good to take something back. But I've started to notice something else, something I can't ignore. It's not just the people who cross me who suffer. Sometimes, the weight of what's happening comes back to me, like a shadow hanging over my life. Little things go wrong, or I feel drained, like I've given up a piece of myself without realizing it. It makes me wonder, am I really in control of this, or is it controlling me? And if I keep using it, if I keep unleashing this energy, will there be anything left of the person I used to be? For now, I don't have the answers. All I know is that this power is mine, whether I like it or not. And if it's the only thing standing between me and a world that's tried to break me, then maybe it's not such a bad thing after all. They say sticks and stones can break bones, but words will never hurt me. That's a lie. Words have always cut me deeper than anything physical ever could. The sharp remarks, the cruel jokes, the little barbs that people think you'll shrug off, they stay with me, eating away at my peace. But here's the thing, I've learned how to fight back. It didn't start out intentional. At first, it was just frustration building up inside me, words forming in my mind that I couldn't speak out loud. Things I wanted to say, things that felt like they didn't even come from me. They were ancient, raw, and powerful. Words I never studied, never read in any book. But the first time it happened, I felt it, the power of those words, even unspoken. There was a man, arrogant, loud, always tearing me down in front of others. His words were like poison, and he knew it. I'd go home replaying everything he said, wishing I could do something, anything, to make him stop. One day, when he came at me again, I didn't fight back. I didn't argue or yell. I just stared at him and thought the words that had been building in my head. I don't know where the words came from, but they felt heavy, almost alive, like they carried a weight I couldn't control. I thought them, clear as day, and as I did, something shifted. He stopped mid-sentence, looked at me like he'd seen a ghost, and walked away. By the end of the week, he was gone, dead. A heart attack, they said, completely unexpected. But I knew. It didn't stop there. Whenever someone hurt me, those words would rise up in my mind, unbidden and unstoppable. I didn't even have to say them out loud. Just thinking them was enough. And every time something happened, a sickness, an accident, a sudden stroke of bad luck. Sometimes they didn't die, but their lives would never be the same. At first, it felt like justice. These were people who deserved it, bullies, manipulators, people who tore others down for fun. I told myself I was doing the world a favor, even if I didn't fully understand how or why it was happening. But the more it happened, the more I started to wonder, was this really justice, Or was it something darker? Something inside me that I couldn't control? I didn't ask for this power, and yet it was there, waiting to be unleashed whenever I was wronged. It started to scare me, not just because of what I could do, but because of how it made me feel. There was a rush to it, a sense of control I'd never had before. And that rush was addictive. One day, I tried to stop, to hold back the words when someone crossed me, but it didn't matter. The words were in me, and they found a way out, silent, invisible, but no less deadly. Now I live with this weight, this power I never asked for, but can't get rid of. I try to be careful, to keep my anger in check, but it's not always enough. Because the truth is, the words aren't just mine. They feel older, like they've been waiting for someone like me. And sometimes I wonder, if I keep using them, if I let them speak through me, will I still be the same person? Or will I become something else entirely? Something I can't take back? The questions haunt me at night when the world is quiet, and I'm left alone with my thoughts. Who am I becoming? What have I already become? It's not like I wanted this power, but now it feels like it's a part of me, something I can't separate from myself, even if I tried. There was a time when I thought I could control it, that I could use it only when absolutely necessary. But it's not that simple. The words, they rise up on their own. When someone crosses me, the heat of anger flares, and before I know it, they're there, clear and precise in my mind, like an incantation I was born knowing. I remember one night, sitting alone in my apartment, trying to make sense of it all. I thought about all the people who had hurt me and what had happened to them after. It was no coincidence. But then the darker realization came. This power wasn't just triggered by my anger. It fed off of it. The more I used it, the stronger it seemed to grow, and the harder it became to stop. The breaking point came when it happened to someone I didn't mean to hurt. A cashier at the grocery store had been short with me, snapping at me like I was wasting her time. I felt the familiar surge of frustration, and before I could catch myself, the words were there in my mind, forming with that same eerie clarity. I didn't say them, but it didn't matter. I thought them, and that was enough. A week later, I heard she'd been in a car accident. She survived, but barely. When I saw her again, her arm was in a sling, her face scarred, and her attitude completely different. She looked at me like she knew, like she could feel the weight of what I'd done, even if she couldn't explain it. That's when I knew I had to get a handle on this, or it would destroy not just the people around me, but also me. I started researching anything I could find about curses, ancient words, the power of thought. I scoured old texts online, read articles about energy and intent, even looked into obscure religious doctrines. The more I read, the more I realized that what I was doing wasn't new. It had been documented in fragments across cultures and centuries. They called it many things: a curse, a hex, the power of the spoken or unspoken word. But none of the texts offered a solution. It was always the same warning. This kind of power takes as much as it gives. The scariest part? I could feel it taking from me. The headaches, the constant fatigue, the nightmares that felt like something was trying to claw its way into my mind. I wasn't the same person I used to be. I was harder, colder, less connected to the world around me. And yet, the power didn't go away. It was always there, waiting, ready to lash out the moment someone hurt me. One day, I decided to test it. Not on a person. No, I wasn't going to cross that line intentionally. I focused on something small, a potted plant on my windowsill that had been thriving for months. I thought the words, the same ones that had brought so much destruction before. And within days, the plant withered and died. That's when I realized the full truth. This wasn't just about me. This power didn't care who it affected, as long as it was used. It wasn't mine to control. It was using me as much as I was using it. Now, I live with the weight of that knowledge. Every time someone hurts me, I feel the pull to let the words rise up, to give in to the power that's become a part of me. But I fight it because I know what it costs. I don't know if I can ever free myself from it, or if this is just who I am now. But one thing is clear. This power isn't a gift. It's a burden, and every time I use it, I lose another piece of myself. The nightmares began to worsen. At first, they